Hey guys, so I was really shocked and blown away in an amazing way that the video I posted on Astrocartography last week got 5.8 thousand views, the biggest video on my channel in less than a week. My inbox was flooded, my workshop was packed full of people, and I got a ton of questions. And so it's been a really busy week receiving and replying and responding to all the love that I got. And I wanted to pay it forward and actually take some of the best questions that came in last week and respond to them in this video. So this is great for people who may have already watched my astrocartography video, are interested in astrocartography and human design, or might just be stumbling on this and being like, what is going on? This is going to be a video you want to watch if you really want to understand the cosmology behind the place that you're meant to live or be or visit. So stay tuned for an epic video where I'm going to go a lot deeper than I did in the last video. And I'm also going to supplement with some things that, like they were beyond the workshop even. But speaking of the workshop, if you missed it, you don't know what I'm talking about, I put together a 2-day workshop on astrocartography and human design where I really go through this modality. And there's a link to that in the description below. You can get lifetime access for only $44 if you want to learn the fundamentals of locating your home, your spiritual home with astrocartography and human design, and then even bringing in the time component. And I'm going to share with you a quote of somebody who tried this out and really got it. And this is really where I think the power of this system is. So before I go on to the questions, I just want to share with you somebody who saw my last video, tried this out, and had incredible success. So it really shows what the point of this whole thing is. So they said, I legit just tried this out on my closest friend and I based on your video. I came into it with background knowledge of both human design and astrology and have done several past life regressions and spiritual awareness of core soul past life connections for both of us. Legit, this soul timeline picked out each of our points in time directly related to our current spiritual gifts and the blocks we've had to overcome. Super cool piece of cosmic wisdom. That is it. That is really it. So it's not telling you, you must go to this place. It's showing you with a space-time coordinate where you've got strong affinities to in the world. And if you do work like this, if you do inner work, you go through the inner planes, you do voyaging work, meditations, past life regressions, any of that kind of stuff, this is going to assist with this because it's going to give you the precise time and space coordinate where certain themes, karmic themes or destiny themes have been active. And if you need to clear something, you can clear something. If you need to receive something, you can receive something. If you need to activate something, you can activate something. That is the power of this approach and why you want to do it. It's basically like having a verification method for your intuition. It's a way to assess your own investigation into deeper self-knowledge, which I think is the coolest thing out there, because when you do that investigation, you live better. You don't have to learn painful lessons. You don't get stuck on, negative pattern loops, or have to deal with the same old crappy relationship dynamics. It's like you actually get on with what you're here to do, it's the biggest, most important thing. We can make it a few extra bucks. We can go on vacation. We can do all these little things that are advertised to us, or we can get on with the biggest thing, and that is understanding why we're here at a fundamental level. So yeah, this helps with that basically. And I'm showing it to you for free. So if you haven't seen my astrocartography video, the link to that's in the description below, which gives you the foundation. If you want to go deeper and really work with this, there's a workshop for $44 if you feel you need to. And of course, this video is going to go more into detail. So just stay tuned, grab your organic popcorn or whatever you choose to use while watching, but just relax, just absorb this, because I'm going to kind of off the cuff just answer all the questions I had. There's no scripting this basically. It's just me having a chat, responding to some of these questions. So the first question I got that I really liked, that I wanted to answer, is this one here. And she says, I did the same thing for my design date, and my sun/DC line goes exactly through the village my partner is from. It's literally so precise, I got chills. I have a question. Why do you pick the P sun, personality sun, rather than the D sun, the design sun, considering moving is a matter of the body? So here's my response to this. The P sun is the personality sun is actually where you were born at a certain point in time, location-wise and time-wise. That is the coordinate of space-time in which you came into this world. The design is a calculated date and does not actually correspond to a physical time-space coordinate for you entering this world. Actual astrology, which astrocartography is based upon, uses your personality, date and time, aka your birth time and location. So design is a feature of the human design system, which is calculating basically based on your birth time and location. It's 88 degrees before then. And so whatever time that corresponded to with the sun placement, that's your design. So with that said, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying this is my justification for it, and you are free to explore your own. And in fact, I'm going to show you how, and I'm going to show you what happened when I did mine, which is pretty cool. So Ra Uru, actually, the founder of human design, said to use astrocartography with your design, and it does make sense, because if we're talking about places we're unconsciously gravitating towards or unconsciously drawn towards, then pairing our astrocartography with our design would make sense. You must decide for yourself if this works for you. So this isn't what you like best or you want to be the case. This is what intuitively you know to be more representative of you. And so I'm going to challenge you a bit. I'm not just going to give you answers. I'm not just going to sit here and say, you must do this. I'm going to say, these are the energies that are present. Do you want to go in that direction? Or, what feels better to you as an individual, as a conscious human being? I want you to think correctly. I want you to operate in a way that you find your own answers. You self-source them. And I'm just going to give you a little bit of inspiration with this. So my inspiration to you is try your personality first. If you get that 100% rock solid, oh my God, this is so true, that's great. You can try your design, and some people really feel it lands with their personality, and this person and a couple other people all said that their design works better. So what I would say is, if we treat this as an experiment, I'm not going to take one perspective over the other. I'm just going to say, okay, this works and this works too. If there's a reason why it wouldn't work based on these mechanics, I'd state that. But so far, so good. So I've got a little bit of a screen share here for you. I'm going to just show you what I came up with, and I'm going to show you how to run your design with this. So I'm going to show you how to do it in this video, which I think is amazing, because that way, you can just do this yourself. And yeah, basically in order to do this, this is my chart on genetic matrix. And you can see I've got my birth date here. This is my actual birth date. And then it calculates for me my design date. Now that gives it to you in UTC. So if you're putting it into astrology software, you do have to calculate UTC for your local time. So in this case, I would be, I'm -5 UTC. So I would just subtract 5 from here to get back to my local time. So that would be 1. Basically, that would be 1:26 a.m. And then what I do is I go in and make a chart here, where I just go my Astro user profile, and I make a chart based on this design date information. And now you can see that this here is the actual chart that gets made based on my design information. So pretty cool. Now for me, if I'm looking at this, as I talked about in the other video, I'm mostly looking at my Sun and Saturn, but of course that's just because I need to keep this simple, because there are so many lines here. But really, I don't actually see a lot that speaks to me, because it says my, IC line kind of runs through a part of the world that I don't really have much association with. It runs through Central America. I've been there, not much. And it runs through Northern Ontario, Thunder Bay, Ontario, and it runs sort of through this eastern part of the US, like Alabama, a little bit of Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky. So yeah, I'm not really feeling that. The only other thing I'd say is that the IC line, there is an IC line here. That's quite interesting, because this is pretty close to where I live now. And it is an IC line, but it's a Mars IC line. So it's activity in the house in a way, which also could make sense So maybe this is a place where I come to get things done and I come to make things happen. And let's see what my Mars IC is. It is really about gate 40. And so this is about finding a new way to do things, not exhausting myself. You know, there's gate 40 is about, you know, it's part of the cross of planning, and it's part of, you know, working for institutions and either exhausting ourselves for somebody else, or, you know, pioneering our own way, really, and doing things by recharging off of the environment. So this is a rhythm and a timing based gate, in my opinion. It's the way that we recharge, it's the way that we live our lives. And it's very funny because there is truth to this one for me, because when I am here, I'm spending much more time in nature and I'm recharging more naturally versus maybe, you know, trying to recharge by synthetic means like drinking more coffee or, you know, going out and partying or something like that. So already it does have a slight association, but I think the stronger resonance for me actually came from my previous chart, although I do see some correlations with this one here. Interestingly enough, there's also two here. When I lived here in Australia, this initiated my soul mission. You can see it is the IC, so it's the school of the North Node, and North Node is soul mission. So in many ways, that part is also accurate. But I feel like the most part of this, there's like the main sun lines and Saturn lines, they kind of run through places where I don't really feel a call or much of an association. So I would interpret that as, you know, for me, the personality chart makes a lot more sense, but that might be different for you. And you got to try both out, and you got to kind of feel into which one works better for you. So basically that's my response to that person's question. So try it out for yourself, but it's an experiment. You know, this whole thing is an experiment. And if it helps us get more knowledge about ourselves and it helps us see the world differently and shape our reality differently, then by all means, go for it. So the next question is from somebody who was at the workshop, and they said, I didn't end up asking for a mini reading because I don't actually know my time of birth. I realize you said it is all purposeful, and I feel that too. However, I do not know where it leaves me in regards to astrocartography. Any thoughts? Well, yes. So astrocartography is a little bit different than astrology and human design in the sense that the whole basis of it is based on the actual chart skeleton, which is the house system. And so the house system is agnostic for tropical sidereal, true sidereal. It stays the same. It's basically based on the rotation of the Earth. So the rotation of the Earth is quite fast, and it changes every 2 hours. Basically, it changes a different astrological sign. So if you're off by 2 hours, you're going to put this thing out by quite a bit. So I always tell people that if you want accuracy with your readings, you need to be within half an hour of your actual birth time. You need to know that for an astrocartography reading to be accurate. If you can't do that, you don't know your birth time, there are ways. There's a very specialized branch of astrology called reconciliation, where they can basically reconcile your chart and they can help you do that. Next question. On the map, there are just so many different colors, planets that also say AC, DC, IC, and MC. And so I'm trying to assign relevance to all the many, many lines with these labels. So yes, if you follow the advice that I gave for creating your own astrocartography chart, whether you use astro.com or any source of astrocartography, you're going to see that there's a lot of lines in this chart, because for every one of the major planets, and the nodes, you're also going to get 4 different cardinal directions. So you're going to get AC, which is ascendant, DC, which is descendant, IC, which is the bottom of the chart, which is Imam Coeli, and then you have the MC, which is the midheaven at the very top of the chart. And as a result of this, each one of these has a slightly different interpretation, like I talked about in my previous video and also in the workshop. And so yeah, each one has a different quality for each of the planets. So yeah, if you have 10 planets, you're going to get 40 lines running through the chart, which is a lot to look at. And that's why you just got to slow down and take your time with this. And that's also why in the last video, I pretty much talked about this in the most simplified way. So the planets that are going to give you the most bang for your buck is going to be looking at your sun, for that's where you want to go. and looking at your Saturn for your karma and what might be holding you back. Now, this is a very simplified interpretation for people. And the reason why I did it like that is because otherwise it would be, a week-long course to go through how all the other planets relate to this in detail. Now, with that said, when you're looking at your chart and you might say, hey, what do I look at? You need to know the qualities of the planets, and that's why I just gave you 2 to start with, so you're not so overwhelmed. Now, if you're an astrologer already, or you've been studying astrology, or you've got a keen eye, maybe it is time to look elsewhere. The other thing, too, is that maybe your quote-unquote spiritual home or best place to live, your sun line, isn't ideal for you, and therefore there's another IC line that you actually feel more drawn to. That could be entirely possible. Some planets are better for living on, and some planets are not better for living on those lines. Okay, next question. I love astrocartography, but have felt frustrated by it. I don't have good lines in the USA. All my IC lines run through Alaska and down into the Pacific Ocean. Where should I live? So this came up quite a bit during the live workshop, during a lot of the comments that I received from people. And they're wondering, it's like, well, yours was so clean cut. It ran through a place where you wanted to go and you wanted to live anyway. Yours is easy, but mine runs through the middle of the ocean. And it doesn't necessarily need to be Pacific Ocean. Some people had it running through the middle of the Atlantic Ocean as well. So obviously, not all of them work out perfectly. And it's not like saying you have to live on your sun IC line. Otherwise, you're not going to be happy where you live. That's not what I'm trying to say here at all. Really, what this is showing you is this is a portal into a deeper investigation of where you come from and where you're heading. And the other thing to remember with this too is that the chart is trying to tell you things. And so if you have a line running through, let's say, the Atlantic Ocean, it could be associated with, I don't know, use your imagination. Maybe it's the lost civilization of Atlantis. And sometimes, actually, when I say that to people, they really say, yes, actually, I remember that. I do have a lot of this Atlantean energy, this Atlantean archetype running through me, the scientific, the frequency-based, the electric archetype, this remembrance of a more pure way of embracing spirituality. Alternatively, in the Pacific Ocean, it could be very much based on one of the ancient civilizations like Lemuria. And again, could be archetypical of this remembrance. It could be the mythology of these things are part of your own past, or there's energy there for you to embrace and to reconcile. So it doesn't mean you have to go there. It just means you can work with these archetypes and you can introduce them into your lives. And so it's not necessarily to live on where your IC lines fall, but there might be something there. Kind of like in my case, what I showed was my Saturn line ran through Hyderabad. Now, I have no desire to go travel there, and the opportunity never arose, frankly. However, I could see that, that relates to my father, and that means that in order for me to progress and to live where I want to live and do what I want to do, I need to sort out that part of my karmic past. I need to resolve that part of my own conditioning. And so I didn't need to go there, but it gave me information that was relevant. And that's the point of this, is that these astrocartography charts are going to give you information that's relevant in terms of certain geographical areas and certain times when you use the approach that I show in the last video, but especially in the workshop where I really go into that in detail. Next question. Does this work with tropical sidereal or true sidereal, or each of these different? So because it works with the skeleton of the chart, which is actually based on where you see the sky, right? So there's an eastern horizon, a western horizon. There's the point that's highest above you, which is the midheaven. And then there's the nadir, or the lowest point in the sky. So these are all physical measurable points, irrespective of whatever zodiac you're using. So in many ways, astrocartography is agnostic to the fact that you might be using sidereal, one of the many sidereal systems, true sidereal, or tropical, or something else. As a result of that, you can use any any of those other systems with it. It works regardless. And it's because it's just showing you the alignment to certain parts of the charts. The only thing that it will change with is if you change your house system. It's the only thing that will create a difference on the actual layout of your astrocartography chart. So the last question here, what if the line I want to live on runs through a lot of different places and I need more information? So in the actual workshop I ran, there was a woman who, she was from the Middle East, and there was a line running through the eastern US, right through Florida and through the Carolinas and Vermont, New Hampshire. And it turns out 27 years ago, she'd moved from the Middle East to Florida. And she felt very supported, but she also realized that Florida was very flat and that she preferred more mountainous terrain. So that is where we can get another layer of data from the human design system. So you can see, okay, the line runs through here, but as an individual, not all of these places are suited for her despite the line running through there. The line is only one indicator or one, data point. There's also the environment. There's also one's elemental balance, and these things are extremely important. So the environment and the elemental balance, they're not tied to specific locations like astrocartography, but when you use them in conjunction with astrocartography, you can get very, very fine-grained, powerful information that doesn't just tell you where to live and what kind of environment you need, but it actually tells you about the balance of elements in your body that's going to keep you healthy. So this is what I use for my own benefit to get ahead, to keep myself balanced. And, you don't understand the importance of being balanced unless, you've been imbalanced for a long time, and you finally come back into centering. It's like experiencing chaos and discord and then contrasting that with periods of inner peace, and it's easy to manifest and your relationships flow smoothly. So being in balance, in my opinion, is one of the most important things in life. It gives us resiliency, it gives us vitality, it allows us to clearly actualize what we're here to do. And the easiest way to get in balance isn't some, fancy, expensive, retreat or some sort of a wellness program, although my trifecta program works with this, so I do think it is quite powerful, but it's just getting back into balance. Now, how you get into balance, the simplest way to do that is to work with the elemental forces, which of course is fire, earth, air, and water. And I'm going to be covering these in great detail in an upcoming workshop in November. And the link to that is in the description below where you can check it out. So in that workshop, we're going to do part 2 of astrocartography. So astrocartography part 1 was identifying the lines and where they run. Part 2 is getting microscopic. It's sort of wherever you live, here's the right location. Do you work better in mountains? Do you work better in kitchens? Do you work better in valleys? Do you work better in the marketplace? Are you meant to be around people? Are you meant to be on your own? What kind of a physical environment suits you? How does your digestion work best? And 2, what is your personal elemental balance that when you adhere to that, that's going to keep you healthy, vital, highly conscious, and in a way it's going to not create distortions that are going to get in your way. It's going to allow you to live the way that you are intended to. So this is the second piece, and in my opinion, it's the more important piece of this study of self-inquiry with astrocartography. So astrocartography part 1, I covered in my first video. It's also covered in the workshop. The part 2 is more on the environment, your digestion, and your elemental balance, which is extremely, extremely, extremely important. And especially if you can't move to some of the locations from astrocartography, this is the stuff that is really going to get you more mileage and further ahead now. So to understand this in the way that I'm talking about, it's a pay what you want workshop. After the workshop, I will be having it for sale in my course library as well. But I would recommend going to the workshop because the workshops are always pay what you want, and then there's a fixed price afterwards. And that's just to make it accessible for people. I do the pay what you want for people because I really want people to come and learn. And, you know, I get hundreds of people that come out to my live workshops and get free readings from me, get, you know, free mini readings, free one-on-one. They get to ask questions. I give a lot of value in those, and that's why they're so popular. And then afterwards, you know, the people that didn't hear about me or couldn't make the workshop or forgot to register, they still deserve a second chance. So that's why I do also put it online. So this upcoming workshop in November, the information is in the description below, is going to be a real game changer for really understanding yourself without having to do much charting, without having to be really good at these systems. I'm going to walk you through a simple process, again, that nobody else is doing. Nobody else out there I see works with these things in the way that I'm talking about, which is really cool because this information has come through me, and it's come through me in a way to be shared on a larger scale with everybody else. So I hope you enjoy this video. I hope you enjoy this Q&A session, and it's given you more insight into both astrocartography and some of the more nuanced layers of the system. So if you appreciated this, please give this video a like, give the channel a subscribe. But also, if you haven't already and you're just hearing about me for the first time, I've got a free 3-day journey for you where you get a free reading of your collective wound. And it also walks you through how to resolve that. And the collective wound is basically the prime distortion that keeps you operating in the matrix and out of, you know, alignment with natural law. It's as simple as that. And I've figured it out basically as plainly as I can with Trifecta, which is based on human design and astrology and gene keys. So go ahead and use that for yourself. The link is in the description below. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will catch you again soon.